Hello and welcome to ET Auto, where at the annual Connected Vehicle Summit in New Delhi. Now, as the importance and the mega trend of connected vehicles is progressing in India, so is the importance of data protection. To understand more, we have with us now Mr. Saurabh Dalela, who is the director of ICAT. Thank you for joining us today, sir. Sir, I want to understand where does India stand in terms of cybersecurity for vehicles, because there's lots of data that is being captured by the technology that we have in the vehicles right now. So, for the Protection Act or the Data Protection Act, does India stand right now?
Well, I think to begin with, we will have to have our latest version of PDP, Personal Data Protection, enacted, which is tabled in the Parliament, I think. And once it is enacted, only then the rest of the parts of these acts will start to flow across various ministries because this subject is huge and the implied corollaries are, I would say, infinite, especially in terms of data. So once that happens, then we are already I mean, the mindset in the automotive fraternity is already there. The data is being generated, as I said. The technology is available first, and then the regulations usually follow because innovation comes first, and the regulations come later. So right now, most of the manufacturers are generating data. The good news is that they are collecting the data, but going forward, this data can be used for great needs, safety and emissions and whatnot, but they can also be misused because look at social media. This is also it's got both the mixed views, or let's say both sides of the coin. So going forward, I think cybersecurity of automotive is going to be a very key subject, but that will be enacted once the PDP comes in, and we have such similar acts in various countries in the Western world. So we would soon have it, and then we'd start to talk and make regulations around it. We are already started to talk to manufacturers that the data that sits should actually sit in India, because in going forward, this data will be kind of a cash, and it has to be regulated well. As the economy is regulated well, therefore the cash also, this data also has to be regulated well. So regulations are being discussed. It will take some more time for the regulations to come.
Right, truly, data will be the king in the future, probably, if we can say that. So, you talked about countries, where such acts or bills are being worked out. Could you give us some examples, and probably when can we expect this happening in India in the near term, in the 5 to 7 years, probably time, or even before that?
uh, in my mind, it has to come earlier because Europe, you said there are some acts. So GDPR is what exists in Europe, parallel to what we are envisaging as PDP. Global data protection regulations is there in Europe. So this is what India would have, and I am sure it should not take 5 to 7 years, or else it would be something like what I just said, that we missed the bus in terms of social media. It the technology came first, and we should have picked it up and be around it. But then in this case, we are already mindful of this, and we are creating regulations. I am sure within span of 2 to 3 years we should be there. That's
But
my
sir, don't you think that the
guess.
OEMs that are already working on, capturing the data, and the vehicles are already on the road, so much of data gets collected. The regulation shouldn't come before, the vehicles and the data getting captured on the road itself.
Well, it's a chicken and egg story, but regulations, what I have seen actually, they come only once the innovation is already there, commercialized fashion, existing on roads, and then we have regulations behind it. We had the airbag coming first, and then the regulation of airbag came later. We had many things. ABS came first in the vehicles, and then we started to create a regulation around it. Many examples I can give. So similar to this, as I said, now is absolutely the right time, apt timing, that we must be talking about regulations on cybersecurity, automotive cybersecurity, and this is the right time for that.
So just one last thing, like last year we saw two OEMs, to be specific, reporting cyber attacks in the manufacturing plants itself. So do you think like there also we need some kind of regulations, because where the production is happening of these connected vehicles, like there is a big scope of a cyber attack happening.
Well, I was talking to a very senior person in the ministry, and I was just mentioning to him that it could so happen that the next kind of terrorist attack could happen such that it is something which somebody hacked ECU in a car, and then the brakes failed and he met with an accident, and this could actually be a reality, and even today, in fact. So yes, you are right that, as I said, technology has very good things, but it has a downside also. So the protocols have to be absolutely regulated. There is another thing that is going on, which is, everybody talks about FOTA flashing over the air. But then look at this, that we might have a emission compliant vehicle, but then we flash over the air ECU which does not actually comply. Now, uh, the emissions start to get compromised in a vehicle. But then the good side of it is that the customer is getting a, let's say, a good drivability. He's getting a pleasure of driving. The moment he presses the pedal, the car zooms in, but at the cost of emissions. Now this could be a reality even today. Now, this is not exactly hacking, but this is actually misusing the FOTA technology by manufacturers themselves. So, as I said, we aspire for a society without a police. We aspire for automotive fraternity without regulations. But when things start to get a little bit uncontrolled at times, we have a backbone of regulations that must exist. So, we are working on these areas.
All right. Thank you for talking to us, Mr. Dalela. Thank you.
Thank you so much.